You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14.
Oh, if only you knew what we're actually doing before we start the show. We were singing, but like I said earlier, I don't sing in public. Coming up, Chef Anthony Fisher from Pittsburgh High School. He's going to head back into Studio K for a ramen recipe. Sorry, a pho recipe. Pho recipe that you don't want to miss.
That's right. And monkeypox numbers continue to rise, but the U.S. only has enough vaccine for a fraction of the population.
And heat advisories dropping out for most of us, except our friends in Northeast Oklahoma, but a lack of heat advisories does not mean it's not going to be hot again today. We'll have your complete forecast from the Skywatch Weather Center.
For the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14, I'm Tanya Bach. We have an update to a parental child abduction story on our website. Authorities were looking for a white 2000 Ford F-150 pickup that bear the Kansas tag 897NNP. Authorities say the driver, Matt Williams, fled with his daughter Autumn during a supervised visit. Since posting the article on our website, KOAMnewsnow.com, authorities say the child has been located and is safe. No further information is provided. Beginning this morning, Main Street will have a lane drop for both directions of travel at 12th Street. One lane will still be open for each direction of travel. 12th Street will also be closed to through traffic for the duration of the work. The closure is occurring for an emergency water repair. The work is expected to be completed and the road open back up prior to any closures for Third Thursday. Now, drivers are urged to use extreme caution in the work area. Well, there have been multiple disturbances at the Ottawa County Jail, from fires and fights to broken glass. And a $2 million grant from the Miami tribe back in December was to help with updating the jail. Sheriff David Dean says improvements have been made, but may not appear apparent from the outside. They involve locks, doors, and other security changes inside the building.
Yeah, so it's best not to even see what we've done, because if you see what we're doing, you're going to go see a judge at some point, and you don't want to do that.
Sheriff Dean says a new roof and AC unit will be installed at the end of this month. The Jasper R5 School District plans to train certain staff members to carry concealed weapons on campus. The Board of Education will select which staff members will undergo the training. Their main goal is to be proactive towards a potential threat and keep the children safe. Staff members who carry concealed weapons will be anonymous, and the weapons will be out of sight for students.
We want to make sure that we are the first line of defense, and we take care of what we can do, and then actually the police officers would come in, and then they would be our backup, they would be our assistants. They would take over, obviously, whenever they get here, but we want to try to eliminate the threat before it gets worse than what it actually is.
Jasper R5 School District also improved its security by adding complex locks and up-to-date cameras on campus. Some people who oppose arming school staff express concern about the current lack of training and support currently, and the potential for greater tragedy. The Alliance of Southwest Missouri is asking for seat belts to help with an upcoming driving safety campaign. MoDOT is funding the project, providing $18,000 for marketing. The idea is to target male teen drivers of pickup trucks after recent data shows they are less likely to buckle up. To do that, a series of billboards will appear, and one in particular requires a lot of salvage seat belts. The Alliance hopes this 3D message will get teens' attention.
They feel invincible. They're young, they're healthy, and a lot of these kids, especially if they're in rural areas, have been working on farms or machine work or riding like ATVs. So they think and I'm sure that they do know cars better than some people in the cities, but that still doesn't deter that fact that seatbelts save lives and are important to wear.
The Alliance needs 76 seatbelts by July 25th. If you'd like to donate, you can find more details in this article on our website, KOAMnewsnow.com. Just take a step back from the healthy food today. Grab some chips, chocolate, and maybe some cake, because it's National Junk Food Day. My favorite day of the year. These foods are typically high in fat, sugar, salt, and calories. They became a staple of the American life after World War II, when the popularity of prepackaged foods grew. And though the term junk food wasn't coined until the 70s, while our favorite junk food shouldn't be everyday eats, they are definitely allowed on national junk food day.
Yeah. It says the snozberries taste like snozberries. It was amusing. I'm sorry. I find many things amusing this early in the morning. I find many things amusing in life. I try
That
to
one's
just be
thanks to Ron.
a
There
happy
you go.
guy. So I like that. The snoz. Anyway, yeah. So let's take a look at the Skywatch Storm Tracker. Right now, there's nothing really on it except these two patches of orange, northwest Arkansas, northeast Oklahoma. There's a fly, and I swear I'm going to take it out before the morning is over. The rest of us are clear of heat my goodness, of heat advisories and excessive heat warnings. But that doesn't mean it's not going to be hot today. If that fly comes around again, I'm telling you, it's game over. Sun is rising in Joplin under very nice conditions. 72 is where we sit in the city right now. Most of us starting the day in the upper 60s to near 70 degrees. But a reminder that the temperatures will warm up again once that sun gets high enough in the sky. Look at this, back into the lower 100s yet again. We then have this. Temperatures at least being decent to us through the overnight as we get back into the mid-70s. And a quick check of that 7-day forecast. Let's take a look because we've got a whole second here to talk about it. Lower 100s all week long. Alert days because it's so hot. We still have a couple of nights of mid-70s before the overnight lows start creeping up too into the lower 80s. That's not going to be very pleasant, but I want you to look at Wednesday. You see that? See a thunderstorm icon? Those are slowly increasing storm chances. So yeah, still kind of hot, but as we head into next week, Friday night into Saturday, we have a decent chance of some showers and thunderstorms. That's still a week away, but so far the computer models seem to be in agreement that we're going to get some rain and at least a brief cool down. Hopefully it'll be enough rain to help with the drought situation because as you know, it is not good across the area, but unfortunately between now and then, I mean, just that's a lot. That is an absolute lot of 100-degree temperatures on there. So we do want to remind you real quick, too, of those heat safety tips. We've been talking about them, and it's just important because without heat advisories, there's, I'm afraid some people may go, oh, well, there's not a heat advisory. It's not so bad. That's not the case. They stop issuing them after a while once we've had these consistent temperatures. It's still hot, so make sure that you stay hydrated and take frequent breaks when you're outside. Limit strenuous outdoor activities. So like right now is the time to get some of those things done because it's cool. Wear lightweight, light-colored clothes and check on the elderly and pets. So make sure you're playing it safe because, again, a lack of heat advisories or heat warnings does not mean it's not hot anymore. Well, another grim milestone as the U.S. sees its 200,000th death from COVID in 2022, and later the Carthage School District is looking for some help. Our very own Yana Haldula takes a closer look at a hiring fair hosted by the school. You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14.
Welcome back. Chef Anthony is back in studio again with us this morning, and we're making one of my favorite dishes. I'm so excited. I've never actually made this myself, just ordered it.
I love this stuff. Where do you go for yours?
I've ate mine in Pittsburgh at the Happy Family there.
Okay. I like the one in Joplin. It's really good.
Well, let's tell everybody what we're making.
So we're going to make pho this morning.
So I've heard people call it pho, and I've heard people call it pho. And pho. Faux pho.
I was told by the person who exposed it to me, she's told me that it was called pho, and she is Vietnamese by culture, so I took to be that would be the correct pronunciation. But
well, and the lovely couple that runs the place in Pittsburgh, they're Vietnamese and they call it pho, but I'm not sure if they're calling it that because that's what they've heard a lot of Americans call it. So
I think that might be part of it.
Yeah.
So what we have is I have chicken stock right here that's been simmering and getting all nice and hot. Okay. And I have my melted butter here for my veggies that I'm going to add. And I'm adding carrots, and I'm going to add some celery, and of course I'm going to add some peppers because I don't do anything without peppers.
Makes it his goal to make things as spicy as possible and have me try them. Yeah, I know. I've got you figured out by now.
Life goals are important.
Let's see if we can burn Tanya's mouth again this morning. No.
So I'm just going to give this a little toss, get it a little coated with butter, get my carrots to spread out amongst all that green. And I'm going to turn my heat up just a little bit because we're going to saute, which is a little bit of fat and a whole lot of heat. So
what are you using for your fat?
I'm using real butter.
Real butter.
Not that margarine stuff. I'm using real butter because real butter just has more body, more flavor, it's creamier, better all the way around. And then of course just a little bit crushed red pepper, just a little in there. So, and we're gonna do it with pad thai rice noodles.
Okay. And you've already cooked these?
These the ones I buy are already cooked.
Okay.
You throw them in a skillet for 2 minutes with a little bit of fat, and you can toss them and they get this nice little crispiness to them. And they stand up in the soup really well. When I was first served, the noodles went in the bowl. Excuse me, the peppers. The spices are coming up right up into my nose. It's like the exhaust is right here. When I was first served, it was the noodles into the bowl, then the broth was ladled over the top of it, and then they shaved beef right off into it. Now the beef was raw when they did it, and as it fell into it, it started cooking.
Exactly, yeah.
So that by the time it got to me, it was cooked and ready to go. And I've seen it done with shrimp and fish, chicken, just about anything that you want. I was thinking about bringing shrimp in, and then I forgot.
Darn it.
So, but we have these beautiful vegetables from Martinez that are just absolutely gorgeous this morning. I mean, that color, you just cannot beat that color. It's so good.
Okay.
So I'm going to take my vegetables now that they've sauteed just a little bit. I'm going to add them right into my stock. I want them to...
So what all do you have in the stock again?
The stock is just the same carrots, celery, and onions, chicken bones, and water.
Okay.
A little bit bay leaf, a little bit of thyme, and it's cooked and reduced and then strained off so that all the flavors stay. And voila, you have a beautiful chicken stock. It's got a nice body to it and it holds together really well. So now I'm going to bring this up. And I'm going to add just a little bit more fat to it.
AKA real butter.
Real butter. And you can use an oil if you choose. I like butter because butter has more to it.
Okay.
Vegetable oil, olive oil, they have a little bit of flavor to them, and everybody raves about how good they are and how important they are. But if you go to a real good kitchen where people care about what they're doing, yeah, they use more butter than they do oils. And then our noodles right into it.
Okay.
And we're just going to let them simmer just a little bit, just like we're letting our stock simmer with our vegetables.
Is it common to saute the noodles before you add them, or do some folks not have it in there?
I believe, from my understanding, everybody does it just a little bit different. This is the way that I was taught to do it, the way that I've always done it.
Okay.
You can buy dry rice noodles, the real thin bird's nest ones, and they come really nice doing it this way. So just all depends on what your personal preferences is and what you want to use. I like a bigger noodle in mine, so I use these pad thai noodles just for that reason.
They look tasty. Okay, let's go ahead and go to break, and when we come back, we will put our photos together.
Sounds good.
We'll be right back. All right, we are back, and we're ready to put our pho together this morning.
I'm excited for this part.
Okay, so we basically got a lot of vegetables. We have our broth, our chicken broth, and our pad thai noodles.
Yes.
Simple ingredients.
Very simple, easy to do, and you can have a lot of fun with it. And every way that you do it, you can always change it just a little bit until you find which way works best for you. Mine primarily depends on my mood. So I have our noodles in, and I'll set that over there out of the way. And I'm going to bring this over. This is all of our stock and our vegetables and our flavors. And as I open that, you can just smell all that beautiful goodness coming out. And the colors inside there are absolutely gorgeous. And I'm going to ladle right over the top.
Oh, that looks and smells delicious.
Isn't that gorgeous? Very simple, very clean. It's beautiful in its color arrangements. The flavors inside of it are all right there. There's not a whole lot to it, but if you really want to go the extra step, fresh basil, Thai basil if you can find it, bean sprouts,
And this is all stuff you would put into the stuff?
No, you serve it right on the side.
Oh, on the side.
Of this, and you add it as you want to go. I know people who use a spoon when they're eating this, and they will add a little bit of sriracha right to their spoon,
about a
add
little lemon juice at the
basil,
end?
little lemon, whatever they want. They just add it right there as they go, because then you can customize it. You can make a pot and then offer all sorts of additions to it. Fresh jalapenos, serranos, bell peppers, shrimp, pre-done shrimp that you can dip into it if you want to. Just anything that you'd like to add to it, you can adjust the flavors per bite and kind of experiment and have a little fun with it.
And even with the noodles, and I don't know if it's normal or not, but I like to serve mine over rice too.
I've seen people do that, serve it over rice. I haven't done it myself, but I've seen people who'd have.
All right, well, it's time for me to try out. I guess I need a spoon for the soup.
Yes.
Yes, okay.
That bowl's going to be hot, so be careful.
Yes, it is. I'm going to pull a little bit out, try to get a little of everything in there. Let it cool.
Shouldn't be too spicy for you this time.
Yeah, I see the red peppers that are just sitting on the spoon in there. All right, well, I try this. Why don't you tell me what you're thinking about making for next week?
I think next week we're going to do a steak special and talk about some steak cuts and how to judge a good steak from a bad steak. Save yourself some money, buy something really good to begin with. And we're going to talk about some Denver cuts.
This is delicious.
Wonderful. I'm glad you enjoy it.
Okay, I didn't get any of the. Try. Okay, going in for seconds. That's a good sign.
That's definitely a good
That's
sign.
a good sign. Okay, well, this dish was delightful. Oh my goodness, I got a little bit of red pepper in the back of my throat there. I made it through it. You can find this recipe and our ramen that we made this morning on our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. Thank you so much for coming in.
You're very welcome. I'll see you next week.
All right, looking forward to steak.
Oh, yes. So me too.
All right, we'll be right back.
Watch this morning. Americans will have access to more monkeypox vaccines, but experts say it's still not enough for everyone who's eligible to receive one. Now, on Wednesday, U.S. Department of Health and Human Services reported the government distributed another 59,000 doses of monkeypox vaccines to states and other jurisdictions over the past week. That brings the distribution total to about 191,000 doses, but Centers for Disease Control and Prevention estimates more than 1.5 million people are eligible for the vaccine, and a complete course requires the patient to take 2 doses 4 weeks apart. CDC says all states have now received at least some vaccine. The HHS expects more than 700,000 doses to be delivered to the Strategic National Stockpile in the coming weeks. 200,000 people have died from COVID-19 this year. That's according to data collected by Johns Hopkins University. The solemn benchmark comes as health experts continue to warn about the dangers of the Omicron subvariant BA.5. According to the CDC, the subvariant is more transmissible than previous strains. The rise of BA.5 has corresponded to an increase in cases, hospitalizations, and deaths in the U.S. and Europe. According to Johns Hopkins, more than 1,025,000 people in the U.S. have died from COVID since the start of the pandemic. Turning to weather, we want to give a quick reminder, if you are commuting this morning, Main Street in Joplin is going to be reduced to 1 lane both directions at 12th Street. That's due to a water main repair, which is also going to result in 12th Street being closed. Skywatch Storm Tracker is showing nothing except orange boxes, northwest Arkansas and northeast Oklahoma. Heat advisories that run until 8. We've been talking about this. They've lifted them for southeast Kansas and southwest Missouri, but don't let your guard down. That doesn't mean it's not still going to be hot. The sun hiding behind some clouds today as it comes up in Joplin. We're sitting at 72 in the city, and most of us are sitting in the mid-60s to lower 70s as we start this day. So if you got anything you want to do, now's probably the time to do it, because later today, temperatures soaring into the lower 100s yet again under mostly sunny skies. East wind will shift to the south during the afternoon before it reverses course and shifts back to the east overnight. Overnight lows in the mid-70s, and we've been reminding folks of this because we want to just make sure. The lack of heat advisories does raise the concern that, sometimes people may see that as, oh, it's not going to be as bad today, and that's not the case. It's still going to be hot. So if you're out, stay hydrated and take frequent breaks. Limit those strenuous outdoor activities. Like I said, now's the time to get them done. Wear lightweight, light-colored clothes, and always be checking up on the elderly and pets. And if you got kids playing outside, keep an eye on them too, because they don't necessarily understand what the heat can do to them. They just see it as they're having fun. Future track shows temperatures today again soaring in the lower 100s. Some passing clouds, maybe a stray shower or two. Unfortunately, we don't have any major relief as we head into the next several days. Future feels like, because the humidity is still remaining low, we're going to see heat index values that'll be maybe a degree or two warmer than the actual temperature outside, so it won't be nearly as bad. And then as we head into Saturday, same situation. These heat index values not far off from the actual temperature. So let's take a look at those actual temperatures. Today, tomorrow, and every other day this week, lower 100s. We have alert days that continue through this week because of the heat. We additionally have a couple more nights of decent overnight lows before we start waking up in the 80s before heating up. Starting on Wednesday, though, we have increasing thunderstorm chances. And on the long range, you can see as we head into next weekend, pretty decent storm chances Friday night into Saturday. The long-range computer models do say, they do seem to continue to agree that we are going to see some kind of shower and thunderstorm activity Friday night. Hopefully, that doesn't change. The last couple of days, all they've done is continued to show increasing storm chances and decreasing temperatures, albeit briefly. It's going to be some kind of a break, and we need anything we can get. We'll have more of the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 after the
news starts now.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. It's currently 7:30. Let's take a look at today's top stories. Joplin city leaders say a ballot proposal could boost public safety, but it would cost tax money. Joplin city officials gave residents a chance to learn what Proposition Public Safety would do for the city if approved by voters next month. Proposition would provide extra funding to Joplin's police and fire departments and to hire more people and provide better incentives to retain them. It would also add a property tax of $1 per $100 of assessed property value. Last night, officials hosted a meeting to answer residents' questions. Voters will decide on the proposition August 2nd. Well, beginning this morning, Main Street will have a lane drop for both directions of travel at 12th Street. One lane will still be open for each direction of travel. 12th Street will also be closed to through traffic for the duration of the work. The closure is occurring for an emergency water repair. The work is expected to be completed and the road opened back up prior to any closures for Thursday. Drivers are urged to use extreme caution in this work area. Authorities charged a man with the murder of a Kansas City, Missouri police officer. The shooting death happened during a traffic stop in North Kansas City on Tuesday. Investigators say Officer Daniel Vasquez was trying to stop a vehicle for expired temporary tags when the car's driver got out, shot the officer, and then drove away. 24-year-old Joshua Rocha surrendered hours later after the Missouri State Highway Patrol issued a statewide alert for the car. Charges against Rocha include first-degree murder. If convicted, Rocha could get the death penalty or life in prison without parole. Officer Vasquez was 32 years old. A lot of employers are looking for new workers, and that includes the Carthage School District. The district is giving prospective employees a hands-on look at the jobs they could fill. KOAM's Yana Haudula has more.
The Carthage R9 School District is enhancing its recruitment strategies by opening the doors for possible new workers. The district hosted a hiring fair, connecting interested applicants with people already working for the district.
We think an event like this provides an opportunity for people to meet the individuals that they will be working with and hopefully get a really good feel about the Carthage R9 School District.
The district is looking for support staff and paraprofessionals. The positions range from full to part-time positions.
We really have a position for anyone who's wanting to work full or part-time or just a few days a week. We have substitute positions open as well.
The district even provided some equipment for the job applicants to try.
We have a bus here, we have some equipment from our maintenance and custodial department, so people also have the opportunity to see either what equipment they may be using each day or their actual workspace should they be a bus driver or a bus aide.
This is not the first year the district hosted a fair, but this year it's a little larger.
So we've ramped it up a little bit this year, hoping to attract more candidates. We have a food truck here, so individuals who complete an application will receive a voucher for a free shaved ice.
Carthage is a great place to work. We would love for potential applicants to come see us over the next couple of days and maybe be a part of our Tiger family.
In Carthage, Janna Hautala, KOAM News.
Well, the fair will continue today from 5 to 7 p.m. A Michigan zoo welcomes baby binturongs, or bearcats, for the first time in over 2 decades. Potter Park Zoo says Mom Thistle gave birth to 3 bintlets on Independence Day. 2 of them are healthy. Unfortunately, one died a week after birth. Bintlets remain hidden in their mother's fur for a few days, but at 6 to 8 weeks, they're about the size of a domestic cat and have gained some independence.
They're absolutely adorable. If they would make good pets, you might want to consider picking one up. It is going to be hot again today. We have heat advisories for northeast Oklahoma and northwest Arkansas until Thursday at 8. The rest of us are clear, and I've not been able to emphasize this enough. Just because they've cleared the advisories here does not mean it's not still hot and it's not still dangerous outside. 7th and Range Line, the sun hiding behind some clouds, but it's all right because it is a beautiful start to the day. 72 in the city of Joplin is where we're at. All of us in the mid-60s to lower 70s as we start this glorious Thursday. Unfortunately, it will not remain glorious for very long unless you're just a big fan of the heat. I've actually seen people who have said they really like this heat. I mean, hey, whatever. There are people who like when it's 10 degrees outside too. So it's going to be soaring back into the lower 100s. The east breeze will shift to the south in the afternoon and do an about face and shift back from the east overnight. So we head to lows in the mid 70s. And a quick reminder on those heat safety tips. You want to make sure that you're staying hydrated, taking breaks, limiting strenuous outdoor activities. So do them now if you can. Wear lightweight, light colored clothing and check on the elderly in pets. We will have more of the forecast and more of the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this. Time to honor today's 4th state hero, Denzel Banzit. Sergeant Banzit served in the Army from 1943 to 1965. He served in Rome. During his service, he earned a Purple Heart, a Bronze Service Medal, and a World War II Victory Ribbon, among several other medals. A native of Parsons, we thank you, today's 4th state hero, Denzel Banzit. This morning, we're discussing getting ready for the school year. And I hate to break it to the kids at home, but that date is coming up fast. Parents, if you've been inside a store recently, you've probably noticed the signs everywhere. And I mean items on the shelves and also giant signs that say back to school sales. So there's a lot of stuff out there. Chances are, too, there's a whole new wardrobe that's needed as your child is, or children, they've probably grown another year taller. The difference this year, though, is the cost of everything has gone up, and school supplies are just one more thing parents need to fit into their budget at the sacrifice of something else while making ends meet. So our question to you, have you purchased back to school supplies yet? Yes or no? 90% of you say no, 10% of you say yes. You can vote at KOAMNewsNow.com/vote. You can do so in the KOAM News Now app, and then you can take part in the discussion on our KOAM Facebook page. Well, prime area of property in Manhattan Beach is once again owned by the black family who bought it more than 100 years ago. It was formally returned to their descendants on Wednesday. Amy Johnson explains how it was taken away in the first place.
Justice for Bruce's Beach! Kevon Ward started the rallying cry that was heard by Janice Hahn in 2020 and spurred the LA County Supervisor to start working on returning Bruce's Beach to the Bruce family descendants.
Today we are returning stolen land for the first time, but it will not be the last.
Charles and Willa Bruce purchased the Manhattan Beach land in 1912 and started a resort for other black families.
The Bruces were wealthy enough to buy property right here in Manhattan Beach and decide to make it an oasis for black families who were not allowed to recreate at white beaches. They were harassed and threatened not only by their neighbors, but by the KKK. Ultimately, the city lied and used eminent domain to commit a crime and steal the land away from the Bruce family.
Wednesday, the land was officially given back to the Bruce family.
It is always the right time to do the right thing, and this will be held in perpetuity in public record in LA County as a record of what has taken place today.
Anthony Bruce, the great-great-grandson of Charles and Willa Bruce, raised the deed and named the family members and those who made this all possible.
Charles and Willa Bruce, Belinda Bruce, Bernard Bruce, Sandra Bruce, David R. Hudson, Grandma Teresa.
Many of the Bruce family members came and stood in solidarity, celebrating the return of the property.
Let's welcome the Bruces back home.
The grandsons of Willa and Charles Bruce say they plan to lease the beach back to the county. Under the lease, the county will pay them $400,000.
Watch this morning in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. It's a changing of the guard for Steelers fans. Crews removed the Heinz sign from the front of the newly named Acrisure Stadium on Wednesday. It comes just a week after a plan to rename the stadium was announced. It has been Heinz Field since it opened in 2001. The Heinz ketchup bottles were removed from the scoreboard earlier this week. The Kraft Heinz company says it will announce where the ketchup bottles and the sign will go in the coming weeks. Acrisure is a Michigan-based insurance brokerage firm. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi says as early as next week, the House will vote on the Senate's bill to boost semiconductor chip production in the U.S. The CHIPS Act for America is expected to pass the Senate as soon as this week. The bipartisan bill would offer about $52 billion in subsidies to give companies an incentive to boost domestic chip production. The bill is a slimmed-down version of the $250 billion one the Senate passed last year, but the House never took it up. A global chip shortage over the past 2 years has impacted automakers, consumer tech and mobile phone companies and defense system makers. The bill aims to address the chip shortage, lower costs to consumers, make the U.S. more competitive, and to improve national security by making the U.S. less dependent on China. CHIPS stands for creating helpful incentives to produce semiconductors. We'll be right back with more after this, but first let's take a look at the market prices before the opening bell. A Good Samaritan giving a ride to a stranded bride.
Yeah, it happened in London after the bride says 3 ride shares canceled on her as she tried to hitch a ride to her own wedding.
Jeannie Moose reports.
What's a motorist in London to do when he sees a bride on the side of the road asking for a lift?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, jump in.
Mark Steen Adamson was on his way to a reunion when he noticed the bride.
And I saw other cars were just passing her. And she looked really distressed.
She told him 3 ride shares had canceled on her as she and the guy holding her train and her sister waited.
I'm late for church.
So off they went in Adamson's Land Rover, headed for Holy Trinity Brompton Church, about 10 or 15 minutes away.
Please hurry up.
Okay.
Commenters took issue.
Some people said she didn't sound grateful enough because she said, hurry up.
I know, but I mean, wouldn't you? I mean, she was 45 minutes late. All she's thinking is, my husband is waiting for me. There's the vicar. Here we go. Here's the bride. Tell me what your name is again.
Anastasia.
This is like something out of a rom-com, someone gushed. And when the bride told the vicar, this gentleman picked me up on the road.
And brought them over. Right. On the road? No.
Commenters ogled him. I want to marry the vicar. The Good Samaritan driver was invited to the wedding, but declined, saying he was late for his reunion with friends.
Have a fantastic wedding.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
God bless you.
He headed off to his reunion after enabling this union, and somehow the whole thing went down without anyone singing.
Get me to the church on time.
Jeannie Moose, CNN, New York.
This is right.
I can't imagine not being able to make it to your own wedding and having 3 rideshare services cancel on you.
I'm just wondering why you use rideshare services to get to your wedding.
Well, sometimes that's, the fastest way, depending on where you live. It's like taking the train. In some countries, riding the train is as common, for them as it is for us to sit in an hour-long commute somewhere.
Very
so
true.
you never know. It just depends on where you are. What's the easiest?
I guess I'm just used. Well, I don't know. Get ready at the church and you don't have to worry about it.
But you got to get to the church. See what I'm saying? Like, that's
True.
the thing. You still got to get there. It doesn't matter if you're ready before or not. You got to get there. And that was the problem. But thankfully she made it thanks to the help of that Good Samaritan. This is day 2 of multiple Good Samaritans. It does show that there are still good people out there in the world.
Yes.
Tanya's one of them.
No, he's better than me.
No, not in the slightest. Because I have to keep bringing bad news for everybody.
No, but you're bringing good news.
That's
It's going
true.
to take us a long time to get to it.
A little bit down the road, we do have some good news. First, some commute information of our own to pass on to you. If you're traveling in Joplin this morning, a reminder that Main Street's going to be reduced to 1 lane at 12th Street, and that's going to be in both directions, north and south, and then 12th Street itself is going to be closed for a water main repair. So make sure you are on the lookout for that. Make sure you're on the lookout for heat. So heat advisories, northeast Oklahoma and northwest Arkansas through 8 p.m. Now you noticed they've removed them from everybody else, but that doesn't change the fact it's still going to be very hot today. So please don't let the lack of a heat advisory or excessive heat warning get you to let your guard down. It's still going to be hot. It's just simply we're at that point. It's clearly hot. We don't need to keep reminding you in the terms of an advisory or a warning. The sun is rising, although it's hidden behind some clouds. 72 in Joplin. Most of us starting our morning across the 4 states in the upper 60s to lower 70s as the day progresses. That cold front yesterday, while it didn't do much for afternoon temperatures, it's managed to get us decent overnight temperatures. But you see the wind starting to shift, and that's what's going to cause our overnights to warm up. Today, we are heading for a high in the lower 100s yet again. We'll have an east breeze at 5 to 10, which will then shift out of the south as the day progresses. And then as the evening moves on, it will be south 5 to 10 and then shift back from the east. We have overnight lows dipping down into the mid-70s. And we do want to remind you again of those heat safety tips. I keep doing this morning simply because you're going to wake up, see there's no heat advisory, there's no warning on your phone or anything like that. And you may think, oh, today's not going to be as bad. It's definitely going to be as bad. So make sure that you stay hydrated and take frequent breaks. You're limiting those strenuous outdoor activities. If you can, get them in this morning while it's cool. Wear lightweight, light-colored clothes, and make sure you're checking on the elderly and the pets. The future track shows us not much really going on, some passing clouds. Otherwise, temperature's still sitting up there, and it's going to stay hot. It's going to remain hot for the next few days. So why don't we just go ahead and take a look at the 7-day forecast. I want to tell you that the heat index values are still going to be low. So we're talking a high of 106 today. We're talking heat index 107, 108. That's still not pleasant, but not that bad. Temperatures lower 100s all week long. We have alert days out, and then the overnight lows begin to warm up, where we're only dropping off into the lower 80s as time progresses. We've got more of the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 when we come back.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Here's what's happening today. The House Select Committee investigating the January 6th attack holds its 8th hearing today. It's the last one scheduled, though a committee aide says there is potential for future hearings. The panel will focus on former President Trump's inaction as the mob stormed the Capitol. The former Deputy National Security Advisor Matt Pottinger and former Deputy White House Press Secretary Sarah Matthews are expected to testify. Both resigned on January 6th. The dangerous heat covering much of the country continues, with millions of Americans under excessive heat warnings and advisories. Some cities in the Northeast may see triple-digit temperatures this week for the first time in over a decade. In North Texas, the heat and dry lands are fueling wildfires. And the school board in Uvalde, Texas, has scheduled a meeting on Saturday to consider firing Police Chief Pete Arredondo. He's taken much of the public blame for the inaction by law enforcement during the May 24th school shooting at Robb Elementary, where 19 children and 2 teachers were killed. Arredondo is currently on administrative leave.
Despite a lack of heat advisories across the area, except for our friends in northeast Oklahoma and northwest Arkansas, it's still going to be hot, highs pressing into the lower 100s. Cooling off this evening into the mid-70s as we start the day tomorrow, but that is a brief break overnights. The lower 100s will continue for the next several days, but overnight lows will start warming back up into the lower 80s as we get into the start of next week. And we do have alert days now through Monday, and that may continue to be extended until we start to see these temperatures drop. And hopefully they will. It's just a matter of getting there and how long it's going to take.
Yeah, we can be patient, trying to be patient anyway.
We're pretty good at that here in the 4 states. I think we'll make it.
Well, authorities and wildlife experts rescued a baby dolphin on Wednesday after it got tangled in the remnants of a crab trap under a Florida pier.
The lifeguards with Clearwater Fire and Rescue found the distressed animal after noticing an adult dolphin circling the pier area. They found the baby dolphin in shallow water and were able to free it from the ropes. The Clearwater Marine Aquarium's rescue team tried to reconnect it with its mother, but it started swimming towards shore and struggled in the open water.
The aquarium said they were directed to take the baby dolphin to SeaWorld for rehabilitation.
No, not a bad idea.
Yeah.
Got to keep them safe. Well, guys, thank you so much for letting us put the good in your morning. We'll be back here with more news and weather at noon.
Have a great morning and an even better day.